a lot, and you know how I suicide a lot, so yeah,
Yeah.
I'm doing that a lot.
Yeah, let me pull up my Twitch stream real quick and make sure we're good. I think we're good, but I want to double check. Yes, looks good to me. All right, so standard spiel. It's the same thing as every other VOD review, but you'll have access to the VOD now, which extra
That's
spiffy.
nice. Yeah. I've
So
been recording them, so
oh
now I
nice.
don't have to use.
See, I'm saving you the trouble.
Yep. Thank you.
So
That's
before we
nice.
get into it, is there anything that that you were doing, or that your team was doing, or the enemy team was doing that was like causing you problems?
Um, it was late yesterday. I don't remember everything from it.
Okay.
So yeah. So as I said, like mechanics were a little off because of aim, because of sensitivity and
Hmm.
mousepad things. I've been playing Tracer, and I think I was just not like focusing the right people down.
Okay. So target priority.
Yeah, probably, and just no engaging at the wrong time.
Let's see what team comp you guys end up with. Ooh. What SR were you in this game? Because the team average is like 3480. Are you like 3500, 3550?
Yeah, like 35, 36. Peanut right
Okay.
numbers.
Two of them, four endorsements. We're gonna win this game.
Okay. So, yeah, you end up picking Tracer, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So immediately, this comp is like, it's fucking weird because you've got like super slit. Here, we'll switch to green as per usual. You've got super mobile Zarya, super mobile Ryan, and you've got presumably the Fire Mercy duo, and then you and Brigitte. So like you almost have three separate divisions. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
you're not really gonna have to worry about peeling, which is good because Brigitte doesn't need any, and then Mercy shouldn't need any if she's with Farah. So basically, you get to completely ignore your team and focus on the enemy team, which is kind of nice.
Right.
Are you able to like increase the bitrate on your stream or when you record or whatever?
I should, yeah.
Yeah, you definitely should, because it'll get rid of like this artifacting and stuff. It'll make
Yeah.
it a lot clearer. It's not a big deal for me, but I've got it full screen, so it looks a little more
Yeah, it
chunky.
looks ugly.
Yeah.
I only do it for VODs, so like I don't really mind. Like no one watches it, but yeah, I'll try. Go is your mercy. Left is your run.
I do hear kitchen a lot. You can just call me Kit.
Okay, I'll call you Kit.
What's up, Ren?
That sounds good. What's up,
Payload is
Ren?
on its way. Enemies over
Hey,
there.
yo, Ren.
Hey, yo, Rip.
Oh, the audio's off sync. Nice. Wonder if it
Mm-hmm.
fixes itself. Does it?
No, I have like a bunch of issues with my stream.
Okay.
No idea how to set up OBS.
So I'm just gonna let this whole whatever's happening just play out real quick, because I wanted to point out that was 30 seconds since leaving the gate of not contributing to anything. I think the pivotal moment for that was
Ren?
right when you walk around this corner here. It seems like you're gonna plan on going up and then go up on top of gas station that way, like the front way. But then you decide to go back down with your team. Which, when I said earlier, you can pretty much ignore your team because you're the mobile one and they're immobile. You're better off being up on gas station than being down with your team, because they're not going to have a whole lot of ways to get up there except for Farah. Farah could boop them down, but if you and Farah both tag team that and knock them down and pressure them off, then you're going to be a lot more successful than if you're staying on low ground and try to go all the way around gas station like you end up doing. Because,
Right.
it takes a whole, like, 30 seconds.
Would you look at that?
Then I get chased down by Brigitte. I
Yeah.
don't do shit. I
They're playing
was looking for Widowmaker, and then I heard her like just jump behind me.
Yeah, so
I got scared.
getting scared is reasonable because, your team's getting the free push up to here, but basically right as you're back there is when they reach around this corner to where they're going to want to act, like the enemy team's going to want to drop down and actually engage now. Because it didn't look like they're poking out. There's just some Roadhog going on here. But when you're around back here, it seems like you're debating between going up this way and going up these stairs. Because if you're going to go up these stairs, you'd go on this side of the rock. And if you're going to go up here, you go around this side of the rock. But then you look back towards the stairs after going up here. So I'm not quite sure what your game plan was. Do you remember it all?
I didn't have really game plan as usual. You know?
Okay, yeah. So you need to have one. You need to be. You mentioned that you were looking for a widow, but
Yeah.
in this case,
That was the thing. I was looking for Widowmaker because I heard her shoot.
yeah. So there's Brigitte.
Far back, 2 seconds.
You can see this. You can see the widow bullet. So she's back up on the ledge. It looks like, unless she's on some weird like gas station awning thing. Let's see. She's either back here somewhere or on the awning on this side from where that bullet came from. I can't quite tell.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure she's next to Anna.
Far back, 2
Yeah, next to Anna.
Yeah.
top left.
So she's over there. You use 3 blinks to get out of there, and now you have to wait for them, which you absolutely don't want to do. You set yourself up in a situation where you spent 30 seconds, you ended up here, you used 3 blinks to go around, and then you ended up right back in the same spot again. Like, literally the same spot. Anna's in the same position. The enemy team hasn't moved at all except for basically this widow.
Widow's dead.
So right there, it's good that you found your widow. That's, your objective complete, but your engagement with her is a little... Notice how you blink all the way up and you barely end up with 1 blink. If the Anna were to sleep you or were to jump on you or anything were to happen to you right here, you'd be completely boned because there's only the mini over there and that's about it, because your team is still back behind you over here on gas station. Notice where they're at, right? And then you go all the way over here. So you have the entire gas station between you and your team. So you've got like this huge barrier. And they're all over the place too. Like someone's back behind Billboard or even on the other side of the rock there. It's hard to tell it from here. You've got someone up on high ground. You've got someone in the tunnels. Like you're all over the place. And their concern is not to be with you, especially now that Farah's dead. This Mercy is going to be playing further up when Farah's up and further back when she's down because she's not going to follow you in. So you need to watch when your Farah dies so that you know when to fall back. Because that's basically your signal, right? If they kill Farah, then the enemy team, like they don't have anything else to worry about other than you. And if you're still playing aggressive and your Mercy's falling back, then you're basically trying to 1v6 and then you're just going to get clapped. Again, this blink right here, like to the health pack, okay, fine. But from the health pack around that rock, you don't need to use that blink. Just don't even think about it. Yeah, just a waste of blink. I don't think you'll get punished for it because it's not a huge mistake. But the fact that you're always at 0 right now is a huge mistake. I'm waiting for you to use it to like... Oh. 4 HP, the dream.
I'm so scared. Thank you.
So, pro tip, when you've been slept for this long, recall only puts you back 3 seconds, right? You've been sleeping for way longer than that. So when you recall, you'll recall back to 4 HP, and you'll be out of, you'll be out of recall if you somehow live. So your game plan should just be to, like, you should just be spamming blink at this point in a direction where you want to go. So in this case, you're not lucky enough to be facing towards this health pack, but you can just be holding, like, A and S and just, like, mashing right-click or shift to just blink out of there. Because then you can, ideally go for the mini way back there or over here, depending on which one you want to go for. But blink towards the health pack so that you have a chance of living, because,
I'm so scared.
thankfully you get Brigitte armored, but...
It's just Brigitte heals.
What were your blinks at? It's kind of tricky to see.
Just Brigitte heals.
Yeah, so see, you had blinks there, but you weren't using them. If you look at your tunnel visioning on people super hard. So you wake up from sleep, you see the soldier up on high ground, you're like, okay, you shoot at him for a bit, and then you go for this Anna. But, like, the whole time you're not looking around, really, if that makes sense. Like, you're looking at this fight, but there's still people missing. So you should be looking around to be like, okay, what's up? Especially because your Farah just died to Hanzo. You have no idea where he's at. And if Farah was in the air, that means that he's presumably on some sort of high ground to follow her and, close the gap. So, conveniently, I'm pretty sure he was on high ground. Yeah, he was on high ground. You were also in, so you were basically right there. They have the Roadhog and their Brigitte right next to you, and those are 2 heroes that you want to kite, and you weren't kiting them, like, at all. So watch it back again.
I'm just telling the Anna.
Yeah, you're going for the Anna, but you're going for the Anna inside her whole team, which is going to get you picked a lot more often than it'll be worth. Even if Hanzo wasn't up top, like, again, Brigitte's right there. She's getting support. What even is that shot? Is that the Widow shot? Going for the Rhine? I don't know. The colors are messing with me. But anyway, you went for the Anna, which is good. That was your plan. But at the same time, you didn't think your plan through enough. And you didn't consider, like, the actual factors around. So, like, the factors I'm talking about are Brigitte and Roadhog. So you're going to want to be kiting those two, but also staying close enough to where Widow and Hanzo aren't going to be a big problem for you, because they've got a whole lot of range, but they also have a whole lot of close range, which is great because that makes kiting really easy. Because if you're standing in one spot, there's like this arc, right, where it's like that's where you want to be. We'll make it like this, right? So you've got close range heroes, you want to be outside of their range, and then long range heroes, you want to be inside of where it's easy for them to, you know, clap you, right? So you're in this little sweet spot butter zone of not having to worry too much. It's basically, you know how Roadhog can just left click you if you're super close and right click one tap you if you're a little bit further away?
Yeah.
Think of Brigitte and Roadhog as the left click and Widowmaker and Hanzo as the right click. And you want to be in that little sweet spot. Route 66 is pretty nice because you can do that pretty easily. Like there's a lot of little, pretty much all of Route 66. If I pull up a little bit of, let's find a good example. Like here, right? If they've got, say, a Widow right there and, I don't know, like a Hanzo, I don't know, playing fucking this corner or something, then you can stay pretty much all of in here is kiting these two. And if they've got like a Roadhog down here or whatever, and then Brigitte somewhere around there, I don't know, you can still use this little bit in here to kite them, if that makes any sense. It's just like the range works out pretty well in your case. I don't know if that explanation came through or not. It was kind of half-assed, but
Yeah.
I can't see it.
one thing too is you just use the blink when you're behind them. Notice this blink. So one blink, two blink. First of all, if this is the building you're around, you blinked once like that and then once like that. So you spent more distance than you actually needed to. But also, if you're going around for a flank, blinks are super loud. I'm not saying you need to crouch all the time when you're going for a flank like this, but A, you're out of combat.
I could just be walking.
Yeah, you're out of combat, so you don't need to be blinking for locomotion because you're going to be engaging. But also, it's super loud and it'll give you away. If you just walk, then you'll keep blinks, you'll be quieter, they won't know where you're at. Like, I don't know if Widow knew you were there and she was trying to grapple to you, but,
I got two.
you know, she just went for it anyway. Nice stick on her, by the way. How long were you holding pulse for? Okay, not very long.
Not
That's
very
good.
long.
Can't see it.
I got two.
Again, you're down to 0 blinks. Pretty scary time to be, especially when you engage with one. Ooh, okay, so you're engaging on a Roadhog, right? Roadhog is another really good example for Tracer players because he teaches you a lot of things, right? He teaches you how to be in the little effective butter zone, right? But he also teaches you how to blink manage. So if Roadhog's here and you're here, right? You can just normally strafe his left and right clicks, and you want to save your blinks for his hooks so that if he throws a hook, you can just blink out of there and predict it, because sometimes strafing a hook is too difficult. And, you know, the hook's hitbox is bigger than his normal shots. So it's a little bit riskier to try and strafe it. So you save your blinks for his hook, and then once he's burned hook, then you're good. Like, you can just relax, right? All that you should be thinking about when 1v1ing a Roadhog isn't how am I going to get to him or where is he going to be or whatever. It's just the first thing you should think about is when is he going to hook me and how can I avoid that? And the easiest way you can avoid it is your blinks, right? So at least have one. But the best thing to do is to have, as always, have at least two. We'll get fancy and just draw two. So always have at least two. That way you can use one or two depending on how long the fight goes with your recharge. You can use one or two to bait out his hook, to make him think that you're being evasive, or like time it to the point where say you do one blink and then you wait not very long, then blink again, and you engaged with 3. You can then have a little gap in time, right? And then blink again. And this whole time is when Roadhog is planning on hooking you. And then this last one, we'll draw a little exclamation mark. That's the one where you debate him, and that's when you dodge the hook. You know, this bit is all set up. This bit is him setting himself up, and this is you capitalizing on what you've just done, right? All you have to do is mental mind game him.
I was behind him, but okay.
Yeah.
So too long didn't read. I'm just burning resources too slowly, not planning them.
Yeah. You're a weird mixture of burning them too slowly, but also burning them too quickly. Like when you died by the Brigitte, you had 2 blinks, and when you died to the Roadhog, you had 0 pretty much because you engaged too early. So it's like if your blink cadence goes like this, right? Your engage cadence is looking like this, and those two should be aligned instead of being offset by 50 or 50%.
That's a nice way to put it.
Yeah.
No, I stuck out.
Surprisingly eloquent.
Get the fuck out.
Okay, so we'll talk about this real quick, but I'm not going to talk much about like where you went or how the Widow headshot you or whatever, but I will talk about your HP. So, I'll wait for it. You get hit, boom. I paused at the perfect time. You're at 125 HP. This means you are dead to the Widow's body shot, and she knows where you're at. And you can assume that she's back here because that's, you know, where Widows typically are, especially where the payload's at right now. So you know that going this way is going to expose you to all of this ridgeline up here. And you're at the HP where she can just body shot you and not have to worry about anything at all, other than just body shotting you. And body shotting Tracer is not difficult. So you need to be watching your HP, whether it's because you hit a Venom Mine or whether it's because, you know, Soldier poked you down a little bit or whatever. I'll wait for you to pull up tab if you do again, but let's see. Okay, perfect. So again, you can't be below 125 for her, 120 for him. You know, whatever for him, 120, and then whatever. The point being is they have a bunch of different ways to burst you down, and so any chip damage you take is a lot more important than you might give it, or it's a lot more important than you might think it would be, because being at 125 HP versus a Widow is the exact same as being 1, and being at 126 is basically the exact same as being at 150. You know, when we're in the context of body shotting, obviously. If you go and engage with her like at 1 HP, she'll just melee you, but that's not the point. The point is for body shots, right? So same with Hanzo, same for Soldier. Like, if you get Helix rocketed, that would suck. If you get, you know, Storm bowed or just normal bowed, that would suck. And if you get body shot, that would suck.
Can we play Winston?
So, manage your health, play around minis. Just be more cautious when you're peeking stuff like that. Peek corners so that you can figure out, like, since these two are your most concerned heroes, I guess, are the ones that are your biggest threat, and then Soldier's kind of you can, because these two, they can be in a bunch of different positions. Soldier's more predictable. I would peek a corner real quick and just figure out where they both are, and then once you know where they both are, then you can plan which health packs you're going to be playing. And hey, Assembler X86, there we go. I almost fucked that up. I appreciate the follow, man, thanks. But as you're going around, plan your way through your health. Oh my god. Hey, Roadhog. So it's like a Genji blade, right? If you see like 3 enemies in a line like this, your blade is going to go like that. It's not going to go like that, right? It just makes sense.
Yeah, it does.
We'll talk about the Roadhog real quick. Okay, so right here, that was a good juke, except you did it a little too quickly. If this were like top 500 or something, that juke would be perfect because the Roadhog would 180 hook you out of instinct. But I guarantee you that this Roadhog would look behind him to see where you are and then aim his hook to where you were and then go for the hook. So you could have spent a little bit of time just like chilling there to bait it out. It's sort of like if this is a wall and you're playing Widow, right, and this is your scope, and a Genji just pops out with deflect up, you're not going to shoot that Genji, right? But if he walks out and then pops deflect, that's when you're likely to get reflected, right?
Right.
So this is... You're surviving, yes, which is good, but what's bad is that you haven't baited out his hook, so your survival sort of becomes a mystery at this point. It's like you've survived up until this point, but whether you will in the future or not is kind of up in the air. Also, as a minor thing, well, I'll point it out as it happens real quick. I would melee both times you blink, so you're right here, you're right next to him, melee, you go around, you're 180 for the other blink, and then you can melee again. Just some easy chip damage, and then that can also bait out his hook because if he gets punched he might throw out a flail of a hook. So if you do melee, you can either do it beforehand right now, but you know you weren't expecting the Roadhog, so that's not reasonable.
Yeah, I just got really scared and wanted to get out.
No, I guarantee that surprised me too. I was like, whoa. But when you blink behind him, you could turn around and get a free melee, and just for giggles, right?
Yeah.
You might as well get
just
some
2% on charge.
Yeah,
You know?
get a tiny bit of ult charge. See, there's the hook. So now, if you wanted to, if you had more blinks, you spent a lot of them on that juke. If you had more blinks, you could go in at this point, because now that he's used hook, your only concern is getting left clicked, right? So you can stay at a range like this or a little bit further away to where his left click won't one-shot you, but his right click won't one-shot you either. And you can just sit there and farm him for easy ult, because he's still super easy to hit.
This distance is like...
This distance is almost right, yeah. It's if you were a little bit further back, I think you'd be okay. I don't think his right click would one-shot you there. It's basically, if this is Roadhog, right, he's a fat circle, This is his left click, and then his right click goes like this. You'd rather be here than like here, you know?
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
That blink was I kind of blinked the wall.
Oh yeah, you blinked the wall because you're going for the chase, but you weren't quite sure what was going on. You're low on blinks anyway. That blink, where you go from payload to the roof, that's an okay blink. Like that's the blink for locomotion where it makes sense because it gets you over here quickly and it makes sure that you're not going to mess up the jump. And sometimes it lets you make jumps that you couldn't otherwise make. So for this blink melee, I'm glad to see you go for one, but you didn't use it properly. Think of a blink melee as like a wine cork opening tool, right? It's in your kitchen like gizmos drawer, but you only use it for wine or for other corked things. You don't try and use it to open a can of soda. I mean, maybe you can if it's one of those weird ones, but for the most part, you only use it for wine, right? Your blink melees should be used for final blows, and that's about it. Or if you're going to go in for a recall and disengage, just get in some cheeky damage before you leave. You shouldn't start an engagement and then just blink melee like anywhere through it. Like that timeline should only end with a blink melee, whether it's because you killed them or because you got out of there. It doesn't matter. But going for something like that, it uses a blink, it deals damage. Since it's against a Widow, it's not super terrible because you're not sacrificing closing the range, but pretend if she were like a Reaper, for example, that would be much worse because now you could just clap you. If you were a Reaper,
Well, I thought
win.
like if it's gonna get me out of her line of sight, like I might as well just melee her like at the same time, you know?
Yeah, getting it out of line of sight is one thing, but think of it this way, right? If this is your Widow scope, and there's a Tracer in it at one point, and she strafes out of your scope, you're going to have to readjust your scope and find her again. If she blinks out of your scope, you're going to have to readjust your scope and find her again. Both of these things, we'll label them X, because they're the same time, basically. All that you're preying on is the fact that she is going to readjust her aim, and that's the time it takes. Once she sees you again, the time from seeing you again... Oh, I need a drawing tablet. The time from seeing to shooting is so terrible. The time from seeing to shooting is basically the same. And so it doesn't really matter how difficult you make finding you, you know? Because once she finds you, it doesn't matter, and she's just going to flick around until she does. So your blink basically uses a blink and only saves you a tiny bit of time. The moral of this whole explanation is, if you're right here, you can literally just strafe her. It's a Widow, you're Tracer. If you 80 crouch spam, she's going to be like, good luck, dude. Especially because she's got a Valking Mercy on her too. Like, that's going to be flustering her. Like, dude, if I'm playing Widow and there's a Valking Mercy trying to battle Mercy me to death and a Tracer that's 80 crouch spamming me, I'm just going to give up. Like, I won't be able to win that fight because I can only hit one of them, and it's going to take me 10,000 years to hit one of them.
Widow's low, Widow's low. Soldier. Mercy, let's go.
It's fine.
Sais-tu comment j'ai fly across the map, mon gars? Genre sur le coin, j'ai revolé sur le payload, man.
They went Hanzo, they went Doom.
Ooh, okay. So now they swapped Anna for Moira, and they swapped fucking, who was that?
Widow for Doom.
Widow for Doom. Okay, yeah. So Widow for Doom. Now you've got something that really, we'll draw another exclamation mark here. Something that really causes you to think about your blink usage, because you've got Roadhog, which is kind of like a half exclamation mark, right? And you've got Doomfist, which is the full shebang. Because Roadhog, all you need to think about is baiting out his hook, right? Once you bait out his little, like, we'll draw a little fish hook, right? Once you bait out his fish hook, you're safe. But for fucking Doomfist, you need to bait out his fist and his E, and sometimes even his shift. So you need to be super on the ball, because Doomfist is a super ability reliant hero, but so are you. And so you need to be trading. You conveniently both have 3 abilities, and you've also got recall, but whatever. You basically got 3 abilities.
I basically need like a lot of resources if he's gonna engage me.
Yeah, if this Doomfist engages on you and you have 1 or 2 blinks, you are probably dead if he pulls off his combos even half correct. So now that you're aware that they have one, you should be watching your blinks even more closely than you were before.
Which I wasn't.
Yeah, so I'm waiting for an example to happen where you get jumped on with not enough blinks, or you engage with not enough blinks, and he just wombo combos you for free. Well, this looks like it could be it. Oh, yeah, sort of. I don't even really know what your plan here was. Was it to just pick somebody?
Yeah, just go in and kill someone. Click heads for head.
Click heads for it. Okay, so we'll go for the little flank. We'll go over this real quick. So again, one blink just to get here faster, whatever. Payload's going to be there eventually. You're going to be there eventually. You don't need to save the half second or whatever. So when you go out here, you can see the Moira beam, and you can infer that she's probably going to be around this corner because she's obviously still going to want to see your team because she's Moira and she wants to, I guess. And her team's going to be coming back. So unless she's playing super far back, which most Moiras don't, you can guess that she's going to be around here. So by guessing that, I don't know why you'd go out into the middle of choke and out in the middle of the payload path where you have basically no cover to engage on her and you're engaging from her front. Like if this is her cone of vision, you are now smack dab in the middle of it. But if you just went around this other door, you would have been behind her and you would have gotten an easier, I'm not going to say an easy, but an easier 1 clip or 2 clip than you would have before. Excuse me, because you actually have the drop on her rather than kind of coming in like from her side. Plus, since you know they have a soldier and a Hanzo, Soldier and Hanzo could be either up here or on this bridge or on this building over here or where the soldier actually is, which is like over here or something, right? If you come in from the back, you negate pretty much all of that because they're not going to be looking behind them. The only place they could really see you is if they're up on this ledge looking forward, which if they still had a Widow would be, you know, a potential thing, but they don't right now. See, boom, soldier was right up there. Transitions over to the building and boom. So you kind of went around behind, but you should have just started from behind. Just unfortunate engagement timing. He shouldn't have Helix first, but whatever. He's not getting...
I should have recalled as well. Didn't recall him on time.
Yeah. For anyone who have done a soldier VOD on, this is the perfect example of why you don't ever Helix first. Because if you'd been on top of your recall, you could have just recalled out of there, and then with your whole 11 HP, and soldier would have been out of Helix. Easy peasy.
Yeah.
I'm glad I get the double perspective here. Good job not going for the stick on the half health Hanzo. We'll talk about the Kobe. So this engagement, see 2 people. You don't stick him, which is solid. Sticking a half health Hanzo at this range is eh. But this is also basically blink range, so you could have blink stuck him. But at this point, you go for the Kobe here. We'll talk about that Kobe. I'll try and pause it at a slightly better time. Okay, so right here, boom. Your pulse bomb's basically going right here, and there's no reason for the soldier to be jumping over here really. And so like if you're trying to go for the I'm guessing you just missed the pulse bomb, but I'm gonna overanalyze it. I'm just gonna pretend that you wanted to throw it there. Soldier's not gonna be going there anyway. So what you should have done is you saw the distance you were from the Hanzo, right? Like when you 1-clipped him. Basically do that. Pretend to be engaged with him so that he doesn't think you have pulse bomb, and then just go for a blink stick. If you kill the Hanzo and then immediately go for a blink stick on him, you can, but it's sometimes a little bit trickier, and you shooting at him gives you a little bit of time to plan out like where you're actually going to go and double check if your blink distance is actually right. And also like see where he's moving. If he starts to run away, then you can not commit that blink yet because, you know, pretend he starts to run away, you blink, you end up here, he's right here, you end up trying to Kobe it anyway, and nothing really happened and you're just down a blink. But you should premeditate your blinks and your pulse bombs if you can. You know, spend some time in the practice range, spend some time against some bots with, you know, ult charge to 500% or whatever, blinks on unlimited cooldown. Just go around practice like bombing people and meleeing people. It'll be a huge help because once you get Tracer's like blinks down, then you're the ultimate kiter. Like you can do pretty much anything you want. You can be anywhere you want to be, and like you can put distance between anybody, and you get to control that distance, and that's a super powerful tool. You know, to basically be like, if you could, imagine if like Widowmaker had a boop. It's basically like that. It's like Winston jumps you can just boop him away.
Pretty much.
So right there, there wasn't a whole lot going on in that fight. Nothing really stuck out to me. It was just you were playing the low ground, which is solid. A weird blink that you didn't need to do, but whatever. That was just a messed up blink. Oh, I've got a lever. Nice. Okay, so there was a lot of blinks. Hold up. 1. He starts shooting. 2. Okay, so the second blink was good because you saw how he was looking this way, and you could see him turn around to look at you. This is what I meant by wait a second. The first blink he didn't need to do because he hadn't realized you were there yet. But the second blink actually does evade him. The third one doesn't because he's still trying to figure out. Like, so he's here. He's looking one way. You walk out, blink behind him. He changes to look back at you, and then you blink again, and then he's like still trying to find you, and then he just happens to find you over here. This bit was like random right here, but this bit was on purpose on your part. That's just a scribbled mess. I'm looking at it back now, but basically your middle blink was good. Your first one was too early, and your third one was too close to your other one. So you basically went dunk, dunk, dunk. If you'd have gone, like, let's say start of engagement, if you'd have gone like dunk, dunk, boom, that accomplishes the same thing, and you just generate a blink in there for free that you can then use like that to escape if you wanted to double blink, or, you know, continue that engagement for longer if you wanted to. You basically need to think about what you want your blinks to actually do, and then how many you need to do to achieve that.
That was unlucky as fuck.
Well, I mean, unlucky sort of, but
I didn't see him. I just took the hook for someone else.
yeah, but it was a double. Well, this is some nice pixelation here, but it was a double blink into something you didn't know about. Like, if you were double blinked over here and there was an enemy, which conveniently there was, like, what are you gonna do? Sure, he happened to hook you, and that was, I guess, unlucky. But the fact that you ran into the Roadhog wasn't unlucky because you didn't spend the time to look around and figure out what was going on. Instead, you just committed 2 blinks to, like, they were 2 like rapid blinks. You just went dink dink into a place where you can't even see very well. Like, this whole time, you look over there a little bit, and maybe you can see him, but you're focused on the fight, poking. All right, I'm over here now. Nowhere at that point did you survey over there. It's like if you're playing Widow, and you're like looking back at your spawn, and then you decide to jump around the corner and then look around the corner to choke. It's like, you know, we'll draw like this. Choke, your Widow. If you're looking this way, and you just decide to walk into choke, but keep looking this way, and then turn around as you scope, it's like, well, and then you die to the enemy, and it's like, oh, unlucky. It's like, no, if you didn't do this, you would have been fine. So in this case, that double blink, you shouldn't have done. You should have surveyed more. Your head should basically be on a swivel at all times on Tracer. Like, same thing with pressing tab. God, that hook was unlucky, but rip. Your head should be on a swivel. You should be looking all over the place all the time. The more information you have, the better. You should always be pressing tab to see if you can capitalize on any respawns, especially when you cap a point, or your point gets capped, so you can take advantage of bad respawns. You can basically be that guy and just spawn camp somebody for free without actually having to worry about the whole team spawning.
You can grab whenever. Try and call it if you have a knife, please.
Okay, so this is good. I'm glad I heard you say grab whenever, but call it please. That said, you should be up over here for the grav, because what you don't want to do is, say she grabs cart, you don't want to have to go blink over around this bit over here, and then like blink once, and then blink again or whatever to throw your nade, and then recall, because, you know, every Tracer always habitually recalls when they stick for some reason, myself included. But now you've just sunk all of your abilities, your ult included, and then you just end up right back here again, which is out of the fight. It's not really going to matter if you get a huge pulse bomb off, but you don't want to have to invest. Like, if you can basically preload this, if you can preload the grav sticky bomb engagement by just being up here or being over in this general area, sort of where you're heading right now, if you can preload that before she actually pops it, then you'll end up with more blinks for whatever happens afterwards, you know? It's like if you go... Yeah, I'll just stop there. I'm losing my train of thought. Good job not habitually using pulse on the Winston out of panic. Don't blink her up. Oh, there it is. And he didn't recall, but let's see, how many resources was it? It was
He didn't call it, by the way.
2 links and a pulse. I can't. There's too many pixels to see what's going on here, but did you look to see who you were trying to stick?
Someone's left side.
Or is it just kind of like 180 and stick whoever this happens to be, like Brigitte or Moira or whatever, like whoever happens to be right next to you?
Yeah, that was pretty much just
See,
scared for my life and just wanted to stick something so I can get out.
I can't tell what is that, like the payload or something? Oh my god, I actually can't tell at all.
Yeah, I really need to fix that.
Yeah, crank your bitrate rate up a bit, but regardless, if you have time, which, you know, when there's this huge grav, right, and the whole enemy team's in there, you can look to see who you're sticking. Like, sticking the Brigitte is a solid idea if you make sure you actually hit her, not her shield, because she's going to be popped unless she's got, like, you know, residual armor. But if you just, like, I see a lot of Tracers do that, and there'll be, you know, a huge grav, pretend this is the grav, it's not, but pretend it is, and there's, like, a huge Winston in there, and there's, like, a Roadhog in there, and then there's, like, a tiny little Ana somewhere in there. They'll go up and they'll just, like, throw bomb in at somebody, and them sticking the Winston or the Roadhog, and they'll just body block for the Ana, and then they're like, oh man, that was a huge grab, how come I didn't get any value? And it's like, well, your stick still pretty much insta-kills whoever you stick, as long as they're a squishy, not a sticky. So if you can try and put it on a squishy, then like go for it. You're not really wasting any time, because if you spend the time to stick them in the grav, the time that you spent to do that is worth it to secure the kill. You know, it's basically, would you rather spend half a second to get an extra perfect kill, or save half a second and potentially kill nobody? There we go. That's what I was trying to say.
What about pulsing the ground below them?
Pulsing the ground below them, I don't really know why people do that, especially now that there's the Tracer Pulse Bomb damage nerf. Your splash damage is pretty much pathetic. It's to the point where if it's on one side of the grav, it's barely damaging people on the opposite side of the grav. So if you get to the point where you can put it on the ground, you might as well just put it on somebody. The exception to that is if there's a diva. Throwing it on the ground reduces the chances that it'll get defense matrixed and eaten. It reduces it by a lot. But the fact of the matter is that unless they've got a diva, you should be going for, a squishy. Let me phrase that: a squishy that can't do something to get out of it, like Moira fading away, or, like you can use Zen's trance, like you can bait that out or whatever if he doesn't already transfer the grav, stuff like that. Only do it if there's a diva.
There's a McCree behind.
Okay.
Behind. McCree right side room. The right side room. The mini.
He's low.
Soldier top left.
There you go. So you baited the flashbang. Double mill. Okay, so
Soldier top
let's see.
left.
Let's go back to the beginning of it, because you could have baited it once.
McCree right side room. The right side.
You could, so he's not looking at you. You don't know that, but this blink up to him, I don't like at all. Because if somebody, like if you're playing McCree, or if I'm playing McCree, and a Tracer blinks right up to me, I'm just going to habitually flashbang the ground. I don't know if I'm going to be able to reliably hit that headshot, because I don't know where she's at. All I know is she's blinking towards me. I should flashbang the ground, because that's just what I should do. But instead, you're at the perfect range right here, and there's a corner right next to you to just bait out the flash. So if this is the corner, right, McCree's here and you're here, if he flashes and still gets you like around the corner, that's okay, because he has to slowly meander up and then try and headshot you. And by the time he gets there, you'll be fine. And then you can actually blink around and engage, and then make it so that he can't easily fan the hammer you or whatever. If he goes for a not stun fan the hammer on a Tracer, he's got some guts. But basically, you could have baited it a little bit earlier. The fact that you baited it in general is solid, though. Yeah. I'm amazed you haven't been, yeah. I'm amazed you haven't been killed yet. There we go. Okay, so this whole bit, you're up against somebody who you need to bait. You need to bait Helix. We'll just write down whatever. You need to bait his Helix, and then you're good to go. Just like McCree, you need to bait out his stun, and then you're good to go. So you've invested a ton. You're basically at 1 3/4 of a blink. So round up to 2. Now you're at 1 again. Now you're at 0. Like this whole time, if you had some chip damage and he landed that Helix, you would have been dead. You wouldn't have even had time to recall. The fact that you recalled and it put you into his entire team, is another thing. We'll talk about that real quick.
Alright, that McCree's been hanging out
Let's see. Do we get a better cam angle here?
pretty much every fight, so.
No. Okay, we'll just pull up an image of it if I can. Well, we sort of can. Okay, so this is a pretty terrible angle because it blocks everything we need to see. But you come in this way, you blink, you spend a ton of time dealing with the soldier, and by the time you recall, you've spent enough time where it just puts you right back in. You want to limit your engagements to the point where it recalls you back to somewhere you actually want to be. So sometimes that means just calling it quits before you actually kill someone. What you did there was basically overcommitting. So you, yeah, I was going to type it out, but I'm too lazy. I'm not going to type it right. But you overcommitted in the sense that you used too many blinks to get up there. You used 2. And then once you're there, you don't take the effort, or if you do, you don't do it quite right, to bait out his Helix, so that he can then Helix you and force your recall. And by the time he forces your recall, which he's going to do, which he did do, it then puts you right back where you just were. And then that whole time, while that's all going on, his team could be moving in, right? Like somebody could be respawning, or he's got 6 years to call out anything. He's probably got enough time to type in chat Tracer on me if he's a quick typer. So, 3 seconds is a long time. It's more than you need for most engagements, but if you get used to managing your blinks properly, you can use them aggressively enough to the point where you evade everything you need to, and also discombobulate people as much as you need to. And once you get that timing down and you use the blinks properly, you'll find that proper blink usage typically ends up in like less than or around 3 seconds spent, so that it recalls you a little bit before you engaged. It was a long-winded explanation, but I figured I should touch on it. I didn't remember if I touched on it in the past. Recall placement's huge. There haven't been too many examples of it because you don't recall very often. How long have you had Pulse Bomb here? I guess you get it at this point. Now that you've got Pulse Bomb and they're all pushing up, I would just hide in this corner because you've poked at Soldier, but he doesn't really care that you're there. So you can just hide down here and just wait for the enemy team to push up and get a super free stick on somebody who doesn't know you're back there. You could try and stick the Moira or, pretty much anybody and get a free kill. That'll help your team get some momentum into the next push because they're basically all dead and they're all going to be coming out of spawn. Enemy's all here. If you get one pick, they're going to have a lot longer to walk compared to your team. And so while they're walking and the enemy team's walking back, you can get some like free payload push in here just off of your Pulse Bomb alone. Especially if it's someone P.
I shouldn't be shooting anyways because I'm
yeah,
just feeding.
You're just feeding Moira. It's not super important because you're not dealing a whole lot of damage, but it's one of those times where poking is okay, but you're not poking at the right time. Poking is obviously you can get chip damage on people, you can make them easier to kill. Yeah, it'll get healed a little bit, but whatever. But right there, your team wasn't even there to capitalize on your chip damage, and you weren't going to capitalize on it because you were smart enough to not go in. That was unfortunate. I say your head should be on a swivel, but I wouldn't expect him to be up there. I didn't even know they had a McCree, so if maybe it's just my fault for not paying attention to it, but if you knew they had a McCree, you should try and track his high noons, because you can, whether or not he has high noon or not isn't important to you because of high noon. It's important to you because of where he'll be with his high noon, like up there. Conveniently, he had high noon, and if you were paying, like I wasn't, I admit, but if you noticed they had a McCree and you paid attention to when he high nooned, then you could guess like, okay, he probably has high noon about now, depending on how much he's popping off. And then if you think he has high noon, you can either go to high ground to try and force him off, or you can just completely avoid it to try and avoid being flashed like that.
Instead of, just throwing it when there's a lot of... I struggle at doing all that thinking during, like, while I play. It's just really hard.
Yeah, it's one of those things where I'm not thinking about everything I say in a game. I'll admit, like, I get the luxury of pausing and talking things through, but I do think about a lot of this when I'm playing. It's just, it comes from, like, force of habit and whatever. So, like, the kiting thing is probably the best example. I don't actively think about, like, oh, okay, I need to bait out his flashbang. It's just, I see a McCree, and I'm like, okay, see McCree, does he have flash? Yes or no? Have I baited it? Yes or no? Okay, proceed as necessary, right? So the more you think about it, the easier it becomes to think about it, and the less you realize you're even thinking about it at all.
Junkrat. I didn't play Junkrat for a long time.
I was gonna say, I'm like, oh, all right, let's go.
I die once and I think it's over.
I'll put the thumbnail for the VOD as Junkrat. Got 1 life of Junkrat.
Maybe 2 because I had tire. I don't know. I don't remember.
There's one dude who's been talking to me, and he's like a 4.2k. I think the heroes he said he played were Reinhardt, Brigitte, and Junkrat. And he was like, "Can you coach me?" I'm like, that's a weird hero pool."
Yeah, that's a weird hero pool.
But because he plays so many heroes, I could probably give like stuff that applies to all of them that he's not necessarily figured out yet, or things that apply in specific if he's figured out everything in general. That'll be a fun VOD to do. There's also another dude, I think they're 4.4k Diva player. That'll be fun. I'm looking forward to, but also nervous for that one. Like, you're a good player on a hero that I don't play very much. If there's anything for me to comment on, I'll be curious to see what it actually is.
We're talking about how he abuses the new glitch. Now he just commits suicide with it.
Oh god, did he just blast off the map?
Yep. No, he got fucked with Soldier. He was
He
don't know.
basically blasted into the soldier though. Jesus.
Yep.
Okay, so for Junkrat, right? Junkrat's whole spiel is. Do you even want me to comment on Junkrat at all, or do you just want me to like skip to the next Tracer thing?
To be honest, we could skip this.
Okay,
It's
I was
been a-
like,
it's
I don't
been a long
think-
time already.
I don't think you play Junkrat at all, and like giving tips
Yeah.
on Junkrat isn't super important. There we go. I was about to go off on a spiel of like how you're supposed to position, how you're supposed to play projectiles, but whatever.
Nice.
I'm sorry to the 3 people out there who want me to do a Junkrat VOD.
Sorry.
If you want me to do a Junkrat VOD, send me your gameplay. I'm not gonna do 2 lives on Route 66.
I'm just glad my team boosted me for that fight.
I don't
Yeah.
need or sleep.
No, I noticed how the payload's basically in the same spot as it was when you first picked him up. When you first died, I should
Yep.
say. Okay, so right here.
I know soldiers there.
You know soldiers there. That's good. Check. Your mission should be to bait out that helix. You didn't know Roadhog's there. That's fine. Ooh. Okay. There is an example of your recall putting you sort of in a good spot, but also sort of not.
That's up right.
Wait, back's dead.
This is just some logical thinking right here. Okay, so Roadhog, you're currently inside of him. Check. You blink around this way. Check. He has not followed you out, and you have not heard him drop. So therefore, he must be going this way.
Wait, back up, wait.
You peek with 0 blinks, basically 1 blink, but you don't have it up to bait out his hook, and that doesn't look like you're ready for it because you're watching the corner and not outside of the corner. So basically, you should have expected the Roadhog to be there and to hook you.
Watch out, hog behind.
Like that was.
Left, right.
If you watch it back, you can totally see what I mean. Like in the moment, though, it might not be as obvious.
He's up there. Oh, we see 9.
Awareness.
Wow, 900 IQ. It's funny. I look down at the VOD timeline to see how far we are through it, and I just see like 1 pixel. I'm like, oh wait, it's a 15-hour VOD.
Meters.
Okay, so Anna's busy. Her team's busy. They don't care. Don't blink up to her. You can if you want to, but you could also just walk up to her and get the super easy 1 clip. You're at the range where it's not likely, so you kind of disengage. You miss out on a free kill, basically.
We should let the door close. I got scared by all the people that were on the high ground.
Oh yeah, they were all on high ground, but they're all like busy with the fact that they were on high ground. Like I don't think any of them are actually looking at you. And if they were, they couldn't do much to you before you 1 clip the Anna. Huge?
You didn't call
Sort
it,
of?
dude. I could have had my arm.
What was that recall? How low were you?
You didn't call it, dude.
Okay, you were at 72 HP. You did not need to recall there at all. You were kind of in the middle of them, but at the same time, you're in the middle of them, so you could have gotten pulse bomb. You should have stayed, committed more, wait until you're a little lower. You're risking being burst, but it's a worthwhile risk because if you get that risk and you get pulse bomb and you get a pick,
Could've
totally
had my
worth.
arm. And you have put a soldier on the right side, and you help please put a soldier on the right side.
Again, with the lots of debating, you did a lot of debating, but he's figured out at this point whether he realized it or not, or you know, at this point, let me phrase it this way: at this point, he should have figured out that you use a lot of blinks before he helixes. So what he's doing now is baiting you to use your blinks. It's like you're supposed to be reverse psychologying him, but he's the one playing you. So he basically just got you to blink around to the point where you weren't even quite sure where you were, and then all he had to do is track you, hit you with 1 or 2 bullets or a melee, and then just helix you to death. So, again, especially when he's in healing field, right? If he's got his healing field up, you need to play the super long con. Like, you need to basically... Your goal doesn't become kill him. It just becomes stay alive until that healing field's gone. And that whole time that you're staying alive, you should be trying to bait helix. We'll just draw the 3 circles for helix. It looks like a penis. You got to bait his penis rocket out while he's got his healing field up. It's basically like Doomfist, right? He's got 1 ability out. You need to bait out the other. Once both are down, he's pretty free. Unless he, like, quad dinks you or something, which isn't likely.
Left side.
But notice this whole time I was holding helix until you're close range, and he's got it. Like, he doesn't need a whole lot of time to realize where you're at if he knows his goal is to helix you. Like, his goal there, if we watch it back, right? He's like, you can tell that he's waiting for helix.
He's dead, left side. Lucio and Genji, top left.
Soldier 1 behind us.
Like, that he wasn't looking around to try and find you to target you. He was looking around to try and, like, target you to track, I mean, like with this primary fire. He was just looking for that free helix.
He was waiting for,
Yeah. So, you need to know that they're trying to bait you and play around that accordingly while also trying to bait them. Place more emphasis on trying to bait them first, because once you get into the baiting their bait of your bait of their bait, that's just like... That's getting into
Counter-baiting.
that's getting into some advanced stuff, and you might just end up playing yourself, so... A lot of the times it's more simple than like I make it out to be.
Right side, right side.
There's a clean stick. I think you've gotten pretty decent value out of your sticks so far. You could be getting them a lot faster if you spent more time like engaged. Which you can spend more time engaged if you're better with your blink management, so that way you don't need to disengage more often. You can just, like, currently you're like, if this is your engagement chart, like this is time, and then this is your engagement levels, you kind of go like, something like that. If you manage your blinks, you'll be kind of like, and like the little dip is just where you recall, for example. So you can just be more omnipresent than you currently are. It's kind of like, oh, there's a tracer. Oh, there's not a tracer. Oh, there's a tracer. So like right now it's like, oh, there's not a tracer. Oh, there's a tracer. Oh, there's not a tracer. There's a tracer. Exact same sort of thing, right? Now you're out of blinks. Yeah. It's like, now they're just like, oh, there's the tracer, and then they can focus on killing you. I don't think they're counting your blinks, but, you know, if you blink 3 times in 2 seconds, they don't have to be counting them to realize that you're probably out of blinks.
Multi-9, please.
Okay, so if your goal is to contest, then you should be loving the payload. Like, that's your bro. That's the spot that you want to be, because you can just circle around it forever. You don't need to use a whole lot of your blinks because payload's small enough and you're small enough to where if you're just crouching and strafing and circling that sucker, you're pretty much never. It's like when there's a Lucio on payload.
Multi-9, please.
Like, you're using blinks and they're not even looking at you, right? Like, you haven't been poked so much yet, so you can just chill. Now you have to use recall. You're still low on blinks. Like, you're staying on one side of the cart, which, if you're trying to avoid someone on high ground, is okay, but at the same time, you should be trying to... perfect block screen. If this is the payload, you should be going around one way and trying to get them to follow you the other, not just, like... It basically works like if there's a fence, right? One person goes this way to try to get the other person, they go this way, you go this way, they go this way, or like in a hallway, if you're both walking, right, towards each other, and then you just kind of... You get that weird, awkward, which way do we go?
Yeah.
I don't know how to, like, force that to like make them go the other way, but you basically you just shouldn't be on one side of the payload, even if there's like a threat over here. Make a terrible exclamation mark. There's a threat over there. Yes, it's okay to avoid them for now, but it's still worth it to go into this range, just making sure you're crouching to avoid the threat. You're avoiding the threat by crouching, and then you're drawing around the enemy team by walking on the payload. There we go. We'll sum that all up.
We need good positioning here.
I'm surprised you didn't go for the helix there. Nano helix is super easy. Easy claps.
Sorry, wait for Hanzo before you use your ult, please. Genji behind? I'm
I'm
trying to tell him because he's been wasting grabs a lot. Not calling them once.
So since you're playing Genji now, and you've got a Zarya, does she have grab or did... I don't remember. Yeah, she's got grab. Okay, so she's got grab. Since you don't have blade and you're nowhere close to it, you need to conserve your dashes. When you think she's getting close to grabbing, you need to make sure you have dash, because then when she pops grab, you know, you can just dash through, dash through, dash through, dash through. Super easy. You can pretty much get a full ult just off that, and then you can follow up if you still need to, and you can just go absolutely nuts, or you can just save it for next fight and just count it as like a net win.
Somebody going behind us. Nice.
Dead? Okay,
There's not a whole lot to pick apart there. It's just kind of like, eh. There wasn't any huge outplays or misplays. It was just kind of...
behind us.
Yeah.
Behind us.
So good timing on the deflect. Notice how when you pop up, you don't immediately pop deflect. When you see he's looking
I've
at
gotten
you,
better with that.
yeah, when you see he's looking at you, that's when you pop it, and that's good. You don't want to just roll up there holding E, because as soon as, you know, he's not gonna shoot you. I don't know why on earth he tries to flashbang over you, but he also does it as he's dropping. So, you know, he played himself there. I don't know if he thought that was a platform, if he just didn't realize the edge was there, but what was your ammo count? I need to watch to see if you animation canceled. Okay, so notice how you right-click dash, which is good, but if you dash while holding right-click and melee, you'll do a dash, you'll shit out 3 shurikens forward, and then you'll melee, like, instantly. So it's basically, you know, like how you can dash melee, like, that quick? It's basically that quick, but you get the little bonus of the shurikens in there, and you would have killed him if you did. Or you can just melee him again, you know, whatever. I think he just gave up after that, after he missed his flash.
Yeah, do the stagger.
We have grab.
I wouldn't use your dash to engage, especially if you're not 100% sure what's down there. Your dash is both an escape tool, but also an offensive tool. and nowhere in there. Actually, let me phrase that. It's a fight winner and a fight ender. It is not a fight starter unless you're going to Blade, in which case you get another one. So dashing into this, especially since there's conveniently a Brigitte and Hog there, those are two people you don't want to dash into at all, ever. You want to kite them. So,
For fuck's sake, dude.
huge. I would dash through the Grav just to tag her, because you know she's going to die. If Grav is here, you can dash through, get it, and then go over here. And by the time she dies, then you'll have dash to go for someone else over there, and then you can just start chaining from there.
With the top left, watch out. I can't shield that. Alright. Back up. Back up. Give it, Riley. Group up.
I don't know about the dash, but whatever. You're not going to need it for a while.
Okay, shield.
I got scared by Widow. She was looking at me.
Reasonable fear. Better to be safe than sorry, I guess.
I guess.
I shattered.
Did you poppy? Did it go on cooldown there?
I shattered.
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
it did. I was going to say, I'm like, you should have deflected there, but it was just, you know, the timing of it.
It always happens.
That's an actual unlucky.
Yeah.
You can, I tend to try, like, for Brigitte, like, if you're Tracer against a Brigitte, right, I tend to blink early to avoid her stun, because I found pretty quickly that if I try and cut it too close, I'll just get vacuum sucked back to where I was, just because of ping. So, same thing with,
Vacuum sucked.
like hog hook, like, I'll blink or dash or deflect a little bit early. Like, once I know when he's going to do it, I'm like, okay, I'm going to add, like, half a second or a quarter of a second, just so that, like, I'm, like, extra safe.
Yeah, that's probably a good idea.
Yeah, it's like sometimes they'll like be aware of that and then they won't actually do it, but 9 times out of 10 it still works just fine. Okay, so let's start at the beginning of this blade real quick. There's a lot of micro mechanics to Genji that I'm gonna end up talking about here. So you got right click dash. That's a good thing. Right click dash, the first thing every Genji player should learn is how to do. However, there's also another right click that you can wombo combo, which is right click and then Dragon Blade. You just kind of spit out 3 shurikens right before you blade. If you want to go for it, go for it. It can sometimes secure you a kill, sometimes it can't. You got no reason not to. I suggest just getting in the habit of it, just because the 3 times that it pays off, those 3 times could be the 3 times that end up getting you into GM. So it's always worth it. It's like meleeing before you recall as Tracer. You should just get in the habit of doing it all the time, even if you don't think you're in range, because sometimes you will be, and that can win fights in games. Good job on not using dash too early. Like, a lot of Genjis will go dash, this, / dash, and it just really frustrates me. You're smart about your dashes, and you only use them when you actually need to get somewhere or deal the damage, which is good. I'm glad to see that. That's the thing that a lot of Genji players struggle with and have to work on, is just not using dash all the time, because they're just like, oh, I blade, I get a free dash, I get a ton of dash resets. It's like, sometimes you don't, and then you just end up with your blade out, and you kind of look sad. Is that the melee combo? Hang on, I gotta see. Yeah, there you go. So you figured it out. So
I worked on it a little bit.
You can do it. Oh, that's an unlucky. Okay.
Yeah.
Hang on. Dude, that's how it feels playing Doomfist. Just people slide off things.
Yeah.
Wow. Ooh.
That's the type of thing that can go in like YouTube montages.
Oh, dude, that's like a what the fuck moment.
Yeah.
It's on Twitch too, so just like clip that and like send it to Fresh Nuts or whatever and be like, hey, look,
Yeah.
the dash was stupid. Funny game. But anyway, you're smart about your dashes, which is good. A lot of Genji players just kind of throw them out like candy, which, you know, gets them killed a ton because they don't pay attention to their positioning. So you're smart about your dashes. Now you just got to be smart about your blinks, and you'll be good to go.
I feel like I'm a lot stronger with Genji than I am with Tracer.
Wasn't the first VOD I did of yours a Genji one?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. I was going to say. Was this the first Tracer one, or have I done another one before? I don't even
We've
remember.
had one that was Genji and Tracer.
Okay, that's probably why. I like the dude saying his Slef promotion. What did you? We'll blur that out. Look at that. But anyway, no Slef promotion. So that was a pretty good game, surprisingly. I'm impressed at how far you've come from the first one. Because I remember your deflects needed a ton of work, your general positioning needed a ton of work, your Tracer needed a fair amount more work. You've improved more on Genji than on Tracer, but I think that's because we spent more time and more like depth on Genji. But
Yeah.
I can tell that you've translated some of the skills between them. And if you
So like SR went up a little bit, so I've like been on between like really low master and really high diamond for about 12 seasons now, and now I'm more on the master side than I am on the diamond side. So it, like maybe a 100 SR improvement overall, I guess.
Yeah, see, the more VODs we do, the more they'll climb. Some students climb like rocket ships, others don't. Just depends on what the heroes are and what your weaknesses are. Yours is just like thinking things through, and that's pretty easy once you get the hang of it. It's really hard at first. I'll say that it's really hard at first to like
Yeah, it is.
perform as well as you like need to win, while also thinking about everything you need to do to win harder.
Yeah.
So I do admire that about students, the fact that they are willing to dedicate that. I don't think I say that enough. I appreciate it, but once you get the hang of it, though, it'll be you'll just feel like what's even happening, because you just win and you don't even really know why, because you've done it so much that it's second nature, and you just start to go up and up, and you're just like, okay, I'm not complaining.
Yeah.
But that said, is there anything that I brought up that you want me to touch on more or elaborate more on?
I don't think so. That's clear and great.
Wow, nice. It's I'm always happy when I've explained everything properly, but at the same time, I doubt that I explained everything perfectly.
No, I got it.
Wow, okay, sweet.